This is the roundup of round 3 from the European Senior Team Championships. The first game was Sweden against Wales Gwent. Sweden won 4-0. On board 1, David James was black, played a Sicilian Najdorf, and his opponent chose the Bishop G5 variation. He was doing okay until move 23, when he missed at his D6 pawn was on pre. He then had little choice but to swap a pair of rooks, which left him with weak queenside pawns and queen and opposite coloured bishops. Forced to defend checkmate, cost one of the queenside pawns, and White's bishop infiltrated on the queenside to another queenside pawn, at which point David resigned. On board 2, Lloyd Powell. He played the classical variation against king's in defence and sacrificed a queenside pawn in order to break through in the centre. However, although he soon recovered his pawn, he blunted a piece in a level position, and when queens were traded, despite doubling his rooks at the 7th rank, had to resign when a pair of rooks were traded. On board 3, Richard Miles was black, and having been faced with a 2f4 Sicilian, Richard played d5 and had a reasonable position out of the opening. However, a slight inaccuracy on move 21, giving up the two bishops in rook position, gave White a massive kingside attack. Despite sacrificing a pawn to stay in the game, he had to sacrifice a queen for a rook and bishop to avoid losing a piece. Finally, White created a monster pawn on h7 and forced the exchange of a pair of rooks, at which point Richard resigned. On board 4, John Bowers was white, and he played a close Sicilian which turned into a type of French defence. The resulting opening middle game position gave black more freedom to develop his pieces, while John's light square bishop was hampered slightly. While John managed to exchange dark square bishops, his failure to exchange the light square bishops resulted in his knight and bishop getting tangled up, and John was forced to give up two pieces of a rook. Finally, with his king exposed, he was forced to exchange queens and a pair of rooks. The resulting endgame left John's pawns exposed to black's two pieces, and two pawns were soon lost. Eventually, his rook being forced to defend a weak pawn, and black having the pass c pawn, John resigned. In the other match, Wales David drew 2-2 with Helsinki. Board 1 will be our game of the day. It was Iola Jones, white, and the Queen's Gambit declined. On board 2, Rudy van Kemenade, who was black, played a Leningrad Dutch, but suffered a backward d-pawn. He then made a rash queen move to h5 to pursue the attack, but blundered a pawn on f5. He then made a further error on move 34, losing a piece. Finally, playing on the piece down, Rudy got his rook trapped and resigned. On board 2, I was white in the English versus the Stonewall, and missed the chance to get the two bishops on move 10. I then blocked the centre in order to create pressure down the queen side. I was too hasty in pushing b5, instead of doubling rooks behind it. Although I pressured my opponent's c6 pawn, I was unable to infiltrate on the queen side. Finally, I declined to win a pawn due to what I thought of potential threats to my king, mistakenly missing a queen retreat defending. Eventually, a draw by repetition was agreed, as I prevented my opponent from gaining the open a file. On board 4, Colin Gilbert was black, played a Sicilian 4 knights. Despite Colin preventing his opponent from castling, the queens were exchanged, leaving Colin with a backward d-pawn. Finally, as neither player could make progress, a draw was agreed. The board 1 game Iolo Jones was played Isa Ovanen, the board one of Helsinki. And this is the game. Iolo opened with 1d4, 2 knight f3 as normal from Iolo, and it turned into a Queen's Gambit decline. Black created the Slav, semi-Slav structure, and waited for white to advance his king pawn, which eventually came. The threat mate, parried. White's got a space advantage, but black's defense is quite solid. And black opens the queen's bishop up, and white swaps, Iolo swaps the light square bishops off. Black is doing pretty good so far. White's got slightly better, but there's not a lot in it. This is a strong move. Now the queens came off, and now a pair of rooks came off, and now a pair of bishops came off. Although black has got an isolated c-pawn, his pieces are more aggressively placed. Iolo played knight g4, attacking the pawn. All black had to do was to play king f7, after which Iolo's got nothing better than knight e3, and after rook d4, b3. And I would say it's unclear, but black is certainly no worse. Unfortunately, he didn't do that. For some reason, he's been besting himself. He decided to take the pawn, which left himself with 3 isolated pawns. Having been given that slight advantage, you're forced to win. Got pieces off, and he won a pawn. That's another grinding of the endgame win. But black's rook is very actively placed on b2, so white can't go at it helter-skelter. White forces the king back. Now it attacks the g-pawn. Now, the problem black has is he's really losing his kingside pawns. You can't see them, now he's 2 pawns down. King finds shelter. Now, all Iolo has to do now is shepherd these pawns home. It's a little bit tricky. Check. Puts the king in the corner. The king comes up, out, and blocks with the rook. So Iolo is shielding his king from the checks of the black rook. You have to be careful not to play h7, otherwise there could be problems. Just h7 now. To be answered by rook b6. He has got king f6. So may not be. Anyway, he played king f7. He's forced the black rook on the defensive now, and now he's forced to win. Black resigned at this point because of this continuation. So, a good win for Yola, which meant that the match was tied 2-2. This concludes the report for round 3.